Come on, let's do it. And the music. This is Angel Radio. So,
Thank you. Thank you. All right, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Of course, we are concerned citizens of South Sudan. I am not intent to go live for a lot of time tonight, but actually I'm supposed to be doing this for a very long time, but I didn't have an opportunity. But now, here we go. I have a chance, to do this. If you recall very well, 2 years ago, the PhD candidate, Peter Biar Ajak, actually has made a good presentation about generational exit and how those, the generals and those uncles who are in charge of the affair of our country in South Sudan, they need to retire. They have done their job liberating the country, working people through until we reach a referendum which has led to a country of South Sudan that we have today. But they didn't have what it takes for them to develop and bring equality and justice for the citizen of South Sudan. So 2 years ago, actually, he had a credible presentation at the Kenyan National Television and TV, and later led to his detention in Khartoum, in Juba, which is he spent nearly years in prison, and he was, pardoned without any charges later. So I wanted to have this opportunity to play this presentation so many South Sudanese they can hear on their own, because there is so many speculation. People did not understand actually what he meant, and there is a lot of good in this material, which is good for generals in the army as well, and those uncles who need to retire, and have a program for them and allow the younger generation to build our beloved country of South Sudan. Again, I would like to say also to all of you, thank you for kind words. When I was sick last week, I did not conduct a live broadcast show, but thank God now I'm back on my feet, and we will continue, start from today. And I know, for coming Saturday, we are going to focus more on the change, why change is so important in our country, and what can we do to bring change, a total change, a drastic change, a radical change that will remove those uncle who are not there actually for the people of South Sudan, who are just wanted to buy the time. You all aware where peace we have been calling, and we said it clearly last time that actually this peace was not genuine, the one that was signed in September 12th, 2018 between the government and the IO and the Soma. Now you're seeing it in your own eyes, you feel it, and there is no peace in the country, and things are heading worse every single day. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being part of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. I'm going to play it. It is only 15 minutes, and I want you to watch it, and I want you to share it, so many South Sudanese actually can experience and know, and hear it, and what Ustaz Peter Biar Ajak actually intend to say, and what he intend to do in the future. And all people of South Sudan actually we are yearning for change, because we believe keeping President Kiir is a more suffering, and nothing will never, good thing will never come out of the administration, and nothing change will not come from them at all, because they are the same corrupt minded that led us to this position that we are in right now. So thank you so much. Also, I want to remind you that actually we have created South Sudanese American for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for 2020 election. If you are a South Sudanese living here in Washington, in any various 50 states of the United States of America, this election is very crucial. This is very important this year. You need to get out and vote. If you did not register, this is the time for you to register right now and vote. Remember, President George W. Bush, it was instrumental on peace agreement in Sudan. He's the one that push and give more pressure to make the government NCP, Mu'tamar Watani, to sign peace agreement between the SPLA, SPLM in South Sudan, which has led finally to a referendum. They played instrumental, role in our life, in South Sudanese life, and also President Barack Obama. Without him, we wouldn't even go for a referendum. If you recall very well, 6 months prior to a referendum, when Bashir refused actually to form a committee for the referendum, what he did, he called that very famous meeting in New York City. Ali Usman Mataha was there, President Salva Kiir was there, and Ban Ki-moon, that time he was General Secretary of the UN, was there. And then they pushed more, put more pressure, which has led to formation of what? The formation of referendum committee. Finally, we were able to register and we were able to vote in a very free manner, which has led to an independence of South Sudan. So they did play. And with that, you got to return. America is the big sister, is the big brother. They have been playing a positive role in South Sudanese life for nearly decades and decades and decades. And they didn't get any return. And this is the time. I know we have a president that actually doesn't care about foreign policy, doesn't care even for immigrant. You are here in this country and is making fun of someone who came here as a refugee, or, came in a visa, or you came in migration. You know very well what I'm talking about. And you have heard his statement last week when he made a funny comment about Ilhan Omar, the refugee from Somalia who came to United States and make a very successful move to go to school here. And she was able to be elected as a congresswoman from Minnesota. You know what President Donald Trump said? He said, oh, Ilhan Omar, she wanted to tell us how to run our country. Well, she's the United States citizen, and she has a right to say what she can say, which can move, her people in the district. So I want you, South Sudanese, all African here, to vote for coming election for Joseph Biden and Kamala Harris, because that's going to be a turning point in the region, in the world, and you have no. So I'm not going to go and talk more about it, because I know for sure next week we will conduct show about that, and we are going to mobilize a lot of South Sudanese American to vote. So Joe Biden can be in White House and he can move more and bring about that change and have a good tie with South Sudanese people. You recall very well during the Obama administration, President Obama actually, his administration approved 3,500, harvest seeds, granates, full Sudan, whatever you call it, to be exported to the United States. But our leaders back home, they did not take that advantage. That actually would have put us in economic, growth. You cannot imagine, we were able, to have that, So We need to build this. We need to keep this relationship going. And I know and I believe Joe Biden is going to be in White House. So let's go ahead and play this presentation by Peter Biar Ajak and Generational Exit. And I want you to know, please share it and share it. It is so crucial and it's very, very, very important. Let me go ahead and play that and you watch it and share it. It is very important. You will like it. I know for sure. So let me go ahead and do this.
Be showing you much later. But for now, just to set the conversation going about generational exits, why do you think we need a generational exit in South Sudan, and why do you think right now is a providential time?
Well, you see, Dibal, what has been happening in South Sudan, as we all know, is not something new. Since 2005, the leaders of South Sudan that has been providing leadership in the country have been getting everything wrong. In 2005, when we signed this peace agreement with the Sudan, there was a lot of influx of money. We have oil money. We were getting about $400 million per month. This was money that was going into the coffers of the government. It was enough for us to build a new future for South Sudan. The same thing, we had the goodwill of the international community, all the donors in the world, the support from African Union, from the region, from the UN, from the US, all of this was there. And what did our leaders make out of all of these opportunities? Nothing whatsoever. Of course, we got the independence of South Sudan, but we got the independence not because the leaders shepherded the people toward independence, but people made the sacrifice. They knew that for them, what was needed was for the country to become independent. But once that dream was achieved, what did our leaders do? They plunged the country into war. With all the resources that they received, they never built a single road. The only road that is linking South Sudan to the outside world is a road that connects Juba to Uganda. And that was built by the Americans. They never built anything whatsoever. So during the war, and this is why I think at this time now, this generational exit is a real solution. During the war, we had two generations, if you will. There was what we call Jej Aswad, or Black Army, which was basically those who were over 18 years old and above, those who can actually fight and go into the war. And at the time, there was also a lot of young people that want to fight. They want to join the war, and they were younger. So the idea was you group these young people together, you have them access to education, you have some teachers to come and teach them, and the idea is you have the Black Army, if you will, the Jej Aswad, to fight for the liberation, and then this Red Army, their job was now going to rebuild the new Sudan. It was going to provide, to help our people to realize the ideals of the liberation struggle. And if you look at where we are now, we have reached at that tipping point where all the solutions that are being offered by our leaders, whether it is Salva Kiir or Riek Machar or any of these people in these generations, they are unable to lead our people toward this vision of development and nation building. Of course, we cannot take away their credit that they fought and they led the liberation struggle to bring the country to where it is. But what they are able to contribute has reached the maximum that their own ability can provide. So this is the right time now for this generation to remember, because when we were in the Red Army, when we were these children of war, it was those of Salva Kiir himself that used to come and tell us, you are the future of tomorrow. You are the seeds of South Sudan. Time will come when the movement and the country will need you. So you go to school, study, you learn your history, you develop better ideas for how this country can move forward. Well, guess what? We have done exactly that. We have studied, we have gone through the different experiences, we have exposed ourselves to the world, and we are able to provide that vision that our leaders are unable to provide.
All right. So we have, of course, your presentation ready. You can guide us through on how we wanted to. If you may just take up the laptop also that we may go blow by what Peter Biar Ajak wants us to see. The generational X.
Yeah, generational exit. Mm-hmm. So essentially, people have been asking about what is this generational exit, and why do we need it? But we need it because if you look at the history, as I was explaining, there used to be what we call the Black Army. Many battalions of the SPLA. These were the men of the SPLA, SPLM that fought for the liberation of South Sudan. These people, they knew at that time that they may not live to see the independence of South Sudan. And what they did, they sent out for children to be brought from all the different corners of South Sudan. The idea was to basically help to groom the next generation of people. So you have this Black Army that was fighting, and then you have the Red Army. This is the Jeshamer. What they did was they sent words out to all the corners of South Sudan for the children to be sent. So that these children, they are trained, they're given the ideology of the SPLM, so that if the war lasts longer, there will be better trained and better equipped soldiers that have discipline. And if the war ends, they will be able to lead our people to achieve that ideals of liberation struggle. So there was always the idea of there will be a generational exit at the time. The question was, when will that time be? And if you see in this picture, this is these Red Army children when they were exodusing from Ethiopia to back to South Sudan and South Sudan to Kenya. And the gentleman in the red hat there, that is Salva Kiir himself, that is standing there talking with the UN agencies so that these boys are sent to a place where they are safe and they can be protected in Kenya. So they were called the seeds of the nation. Everybody knew about this. Salva Kiir himself knew about it. He knew that his own ideas were not enough to bring about the development. And they used to tell themselves that our job is to destroy the old Sudan. And these boys are going to build the new Sudan. Well, guess what? Where we are now, you cannot repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Einstein said that this was insanity. 2005 to 2013, we had Salva Kiir as president, Riek Machar as deputy. It was a disaster. This was the time that they stole a lot of money. Even the president himself wrote a letter to his ministers asking them to return the money that was stolen. There was a lot of intertribal violence. They did not reconcile the people. They did not build consensus on the ideas of state. And guess what happened? 2013, there was a power struggle. It was a disaster. Again, 2016, there was a peace agreement that brought Salva Kiir, Riek Machar to the same arrangement. Guess what happened? They fought again. They plunged the country back to a civil war. So we cannot be repeating the same thing and expect South Sudan to move forward. And this is why now there is a need really for generational exit. Because if you look at the proposal they are making, this proposal is really an insult to the people of South Sudan. They want to have a president, they want to have 4 vice presidents, 45 ministers, 550 MPs, 9 deputy ministers. You're talking about 32 governors. And by the way, where will South Sudan get the money to be able to afford this large government when we have gone for a month without paying our military, without paying our civil service, without paying our diplomatic services? I was just in Europe visiting some of our finest diplomats. They're living in awful conditions because our government is unable to support them. In London, our embassy has been closed. And by the way, South Sudan has been going through economic crisis. We cannot afford this proposal. Since 2013, our GDP has shrunk by about 30%. This is 30% over the last 5 years, the contraction of our economy. The budget deficit for this year alone is about 15% of GDP. Our currency, the South Sudanese pound, has lost over 90% of its value. We had inflation that peaked at 800% due to a fourfold growth in money creation. They were basically just printing money after money to sustain the government. And now they're proposing to have this crazy government. So, of course, what is needed is this generational exit. What are we talking about? We are now talking to these children of war. By the way, there were over 100,000 of them. And they are now spread all over the world. They're in Canada, they're in Australia, they're in the US, in UK, in South Sudan, across different institutions. They're in the army, they're in the intelligence services, they're there. So what is needed now is for this group to realize that the mission that their leader, John Garang de Mabur, was preparing them is now here. And what is required as part of this negotiation going on, honestly, is to answer the question that Salva Kiir asked. Salva Kiir asked 2 months ago when he was addressing people in Juba. He said, if you want me to exit, to have a peace agreement in which I will not be there as president, what is my incentive? That is precisely the question that should be addressed. Instead of bribing all these warlords that are creating war and using it as a way to advance themselves, why don't we actually have a deal with Salva Kiir and talk with them so that we offer him a package so that he can exit and so that South Sudan can build an economy for the future? Because if you look at the future, this is basically what is going on with climate change. And South Sudan is a country that is poor. And countries that are poor and that are exposed are going to be seriously affected. If you look at the whole continent of Africa and where South Sudan is, we are going to be affected. And the only resource we are producing now, oil, we are not investing it. The money is being stolen and is being wasted in this war that is going on. We are being left exposed, and the future generation of South Sudanese that are going to come are also being exposed to this climate change. So it's something that we need to keep in mind. We have no time to lose whatsoever. Second, is the issue of population growth. If you see in our part of the world, if you can go back a bit, Dubal, to the previous slide. Yes, this is the population growth. If you look at the population of Africa and Europe, and if you see what just started happening around the year 2000 there, is the explosion of population in Africa. We are going to be about 40% of humankind by the year 2100. And our region where we are is going to be having a lot of people. So we cannot afford to have regimes that cannot govern, and we cannot afford to not invest in the livelihoods of people, because you're going to be dealing with the combined effects of climate change and high population growth, and then add in terrorism and issues of crimes. These are all the different terrorists and illicit trade networks across Africa. This is a perfect recipe for a region that will continue to be behind in every measure of sustainable development, because we are going to be left in conflict. And with conflict, there's no way we can have sustainable development. So what is needed really is for our leaders now to realize that that time when we used to talk, that the Red Army and the new generation will have to come at some point and provide vision for the country. This is what we need to do. We need to look at how do we transform the network and incentive of violence, and how do we build a viable economy. What we need is a complete change of leadership, a transitional leadership that allow our people to focus on a 3-point agenda of building a road networks, building a massive housing network. And what we will do with that housing is to retire these generals. Instead of them going to office every day looking for work because they need salaries, we build for them houses. Let's have 50,000 housing units everywhere in the country. We can pay for this by basically putting some tax on the oil produced in the country. We produce about 160,000 barrels of a day. If you look in the period of a year, it's about 6 million barrels of oil. If you tax that, it can provide you about $350 million a year that you can use to finance housing development. And the justification is oil is polluting our environment, and it's an asset that we are depleting, and we are not building up another asset. So overall, we are going to be left poor. So this can allow us to raise this capital so that we are able to invest in our people, reimagine a different kind of state, and build a future that will work for us and our children. I think this is the reason why generation of South Sudanese fought. They fought a civil war that cost 2 million lives. They endured a lot of pain, and the idea was to bring about this country called South Sudan so that our people can move forward. Let me stop there, Dubal. Let me get a bit into the next steps, what our people need to do. We need immediately to establish points of contacts in Nairobi, Kampala, Addis Ababa, US, Canada, Australia, Europe, reaching out to Lost Boy and the diaspora, intensifying our lobby efforts in these countries to basically pass a simple message. Our leaders are asking for incentives. Let's offer them. If we need to give them money to exit, let them have the money. If it is that they don't want accountability so that they can exit, that is enough accountability. What we will not accept is for them to continue to be there and they are not exiting and there's no accountability for them. That is what we will not accept. We need also to build consensus among the members of the Red Army, among the members of the party. It's not everybody in the party that is corrupt. This SPLM has some of the nationalistic, patriotic people that the world has ever seen. We need to reach out to them, talk to them. Our commanders, the commanders of the Red Army, talk to them. Time has come for South Sudan to have a generational transition. We need also to tell the international community they are misusing their power. It's not about putting pressure on Salva Kiir and Riek Machar to work together. The idea is putting pressure on them so that they can exit together and see what sort of incentive is needed, what sort of deal can be made to them so that they leave. We need the region and the international community to understand that this 3-year transition of forcing Salva Kiir and Riek Machar to work together will never work. What would help the people of South Sudan is for these men to exit. It was known that they will have to exit, that the time for them to exit was coming, and guess what? That time is here. It's time for the seeds of the nation to flourish and come to the rescue of the country. It's something that we cannot escape. All the members of the Red Army, wherever they are in the world, you cannot escape. This was a historic mission that was given to us. That time will come when we will need to step up and lead this country and this movement to another level, and that time has come now. We cannot continue to say that we are young. Most of us are reaching 50 years, 45. When will we serve the people of South Sudan? I believe now is the time. Salva Kiir wants incentives. I'm sure Riek Machar wants incentives. Let's give them the right incentives.
Right. Thank you, Peter Biar Ajak. And of course, when we talk about 45 and 50, that's pretty young in Africa, right?
With that, I thank you so much. I know you have heard from Ustaz Peter Biar Ajak. It doesn't matter, what you take, what they take. It doesn't matter how they reshuffle. Salva Kiir is shoveling government, bringing new people, firing old people. It's still going to be the same. So the only option is for them to exit, and they have to exit now. So people of South Sudan, the younger South Sudanese, can rebuild this nation, can reconcile. But with Salva Kiir, I don't see any reconciliation is going to happen because they become symbol of hate in the country. Until then, thank you so much. We will meet on Saturday, and we will be focusing more on the issue of economic and issue of change in the country. It's not impossible. It is going to happen, whether they like it or not. This country belongs to us and belongs to generation to come. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I already told you that I'm not going to speak a lot. I just wanted you to listen to this presentation, and more to come, and more we work together. Thank you, and have a good night.
Here comes our city. Come on, listen. And the music by Mr. Andrew Video. So, everybody, you're my Joby. I've been being my Joby. You're being my Joby. You're my Joby.